Says it's
Looks
being
like
live
we are
streamed.
live. Looks like we're live. So yes, we are. All right, we are live. I'm here with Jason Blake.
Thanks
And
for having me. This is, I think, our third time, right? Third time?
Yeah, this is a third time as solo, and one time you did it with Aziola Cry.
That's right. That's right.
So fourth time altogether. But it's just that you're a busy guy. You're probably one of the busiest people I've ever talked to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you pump out music a lot. I mean, for some people, I don't know if they can do that, but for the most part, you've been putting out consistently since I've known you. I want to say an average of let's say 2 a year, maybe, and this year alone you put out, well, the 2 you put out so far that I've been listening to a lot is subsequent ruins and backward sky falling project. It's amazing that these are two of the heavy ones, but they don't sound alike, which it's a hard thing to do when you just put things out so close together. You sometimes can run into the problem of, is it going to sound the same? I think this one, being that it's a two piece, the drums are like really heavy out there, and your word guitar playing, I'm reminded of Discipline era Crimson on this one. It's almost like a beefier version of it, and then you have these other ones. I know one of them comes out in October, and I'm not sure if which one I should be showing, because there's another one you gave me that.
Yeah, that one will follow after, and I can explain that. But Radiant Dust comes out next in October. I think to explain, yeah, that's that one. I think to explain, because I have had a pretty productive last couple of years. I think one of the things that helps though is that every one of these albums is very different from the next, and so it's not like I'm repeating myself and putting out a similar genre 2 times in a year or 3 times in a year. So I think that's one of the things that helps with that. So Subsequent Ruins was definitely what I sound like progressive rock. Strip me away from the band Aziola Cry, what would it sound like? So I played all of the what you would think of as the guitar lines, but also, really doing a lot more, I would say, the 2-hand tapping technique. So that's, the guitar lines are being played by my right hand, the bass is being played by my left hand. And I really wanted it just to be accompanied by drums. And so that's where Marco Miniman came in, and he put the drums down for that album. Backward Sky Falling was a project that had started many years ago and just never really saw a finality to it, I suppose. So we really wanted to just get something recorded, because it felt like we put so much time and energy into it at one point, and then we kind of disbanded, I would say. Didn't really do much, and then we decided let's put something together and let's put it out. That one, I think the reason why those two sound very different is, one, like when I write for Aziola Cry, I write as kind of a bass player of that band, but also I feature my more melodic playing in Aziola Cry as well, where Backward Sky Falling is, I strictly took the role of being a bass player. So I let Joe Kopecki be the guitar player by all means in that band. So I most of it is actually even played on the bass side of the instrument. So it was just truly me playing bass, and a lot of it was written by Joe too. And I think that also lends itself to sounding different than what I typically write. If you ask me, and maybe it's just because I know, but you could tell the riffs that I wrote versus Joe wrote. If when I listen to it, I can hear that difference. Maybe the audience wouldn't necessarily be able to distinguish that as easily, but it's definitely got a lot of Joe's flavor in that project. And then the other things that I've done this year is really was completely me moving away from all that, and that was I've been doing a lot of solo shows. And while I like to play an occasional progressive rock song at a solo show where I'm playing my acoustic war, it doesn't necessarily come off the same because it's usually in quieter venues. It's usually, uh, you know, for lack of a better word, I'm in the corner playing what seems a little bit more like background music at that point. And so the progressive rock thing was a little in your face for, sitting in the corner playing acoustic war guitar. So I realized that what I wanted to do was write an album where the material just suited uh, that venue. So I wrote Radiant Dusk, and that is 10 songs of, I would call them more like song structure, pop song structure. There's verse, chorus with a solo section or a bridge kind of in it to the song, and then stop. It wasn't like progressive rock structures where I tend to write 10+ minute long songs. Well, these were all 3 minutes short to the point. And these are the songs that I typically play when I'm playing my solo shows. So it was, for me, it was very different than what I was doing with the band or my own progressive rock stuff. So that's why it seems like a lot, but to me, they're all very different from each other. And that's why I can justify it, I guess.
Right. Well, that's actually, it's really cool that you can do that. I don't think many musicians can actually separate those things. They tend to kind of overlap, and it's like if you didn't have any names on this, you would swear this. Even the solo stuff, there was a completely different person doing it, because it's like it's almost like you have in a way, kind of like a musical split personality. You can one moment you could play the heavies, another one the more melodic. One with complex and one with just simple.
That's been a process, though, I would say, because like I used to have a hard time with that. In fact, if you go back to like an album like Ghost Conversations by Aziola, that was me putting everything that I do into one album. There was the ambient part of Ghost Conversations 1. There was the more acoustic-y stuff of part 2, and then there was the heavier part 3. I used to just try to put everything into one song or one band, and over time I basically realized that I need to distinguish all of these things and put them into different. I'm a very compartmentalized type person. I like creating my buckets for everything, and so that's really what I do. Is I've created my progressive metal bucket, which is Aziola. I've created my progressive, I call it more prog rock sort of thing, with my name. It's really like me pushing the instrument to my personal capabilities, and that would be the Subsequent Ruins album, which I'm working on a second one of those for next year. And then there's the more, what can I do with the instrument to not necessarily, because I've heard some people play like Chapman Stick and other, and to me, when they go into that realm of more mass appeal, no disrespect to anybody who's done it, but to me, it comes off sounding a little sloppy. It's not for me. So this was my attempt at like trying to create something that still had some edge to it, but
Right.
was a little bit more like, if I was set up in a coffee shop and somebody came in just to have a coffee, would they be turned off by it? Or would they actually sit there and listen and think, well, that's an interesting instrument, or I like what he's doing, kind of a thing. And that was what Radiant Dust became, is uh, that that sort of setting a goal to make an album that had a little bit more of an appeal beyond just the prog rock people.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's great to do, the prog rock, because then you can, uh, put out, on the complex side, you can put out more in-depth type of music. But then prog rock community is just a small part of the music community, and without trying to, how do you say, completely like modernize you, because I've seen stuff out there now, a style of music that seems to be more to the general public, synthwave,
Yeah.
and there's a guy out there that he takes older songs, and I think he strips down the music, leaves the vocals, and puts his synthwave on top of it, and it's like, I think that's trying to get too close to the mainstream, letting the mainstream dictate how you do your music, whereas this is what I'm doing, you know, do you like?
Well, and you can definitely see if you listen to Radiant Dust, there's elements of the prog rock stuff in it. In fact, I started I opened the album up with a song that was intentionally, it could have very much have been on the subsequent Ruins album. It's kind of prog rock. That was intentional. I didn't want people to think that I was like doing something completely left turn from what I typically do,
Right.
but it starts from there and it kind of hints at it. In fact, the second to last song is about the most proggy on the album, and it's a little bit like an Aziola cry tune at one point, some of the things I do. So it was intentional to have some of that influence in it, because ultimately I mean I do love writing in odd time signatures, and I do love that kind of song structure, but it was also a challenge for me to try to write in a more condensed 3-minute, 4-minute song type structure. Plus also, where even on subsequent Ruins, it's all war guitar, but there are some overdubs. This is truly just the instrument and what the instrument is capable of doing. If I, like I said, sit in a room with just myself playing. So I wanted it to be as stripped down as possible, like a true solo album, I guess it would be.
Right. Yeah. That's the one thing about that instrument. I mean, I've heard other people play it before, but you're playing it and you're bringing out different sounds out of it. That is, it's pretty interesting. It's like, like guitar players doing different things on it just to, okay, yeah, it's a guitar, but let's see, kind of pushing the envelope as to what the instrument can do. And I think that's what, not to sound bad, but that's what I think a real musician should be doing. They should be pushing the envelope as to what they can do on their instrument, or if they're one of those multi-instrumentalists, where what they can actually create by themselves. So, like you said, a true solo album, there's not many of those.
Yeah, and I think exactly what you said is what I tried to do with it. It's somewhat of a new instrument, so it's not really like it's been around for so long and people have done so much with it. So I feel like there's a lot of room for that. Plus, I don't know when it was, many years ago now, but I made it just a quest on my own. Like I put away all my other instruments and just truly devoted myself to that one. Am I where I want to be? No, but I feel like each one of these albums is the documentation of where I am at that moment. And I continue, like, if somebody else listens to it, I hope they see as well the progression that I feel on the instrument. Like every album continues in my mind to get like better tenfold. You know, I see my playing just improving on it, and what I'm the experimentation I'm doing, whether it be just a lot of that particular on the Radiant Dusk album, a lot of it was where I played bass lines with the left hand as opposed to the the right hand as opposed to the left hand. So there's a lot of like doing different techniques and things that I hadn't done before that I really tried experimenting with, and it opened up a lot of new doors and created something I think is, you know, unique while still sounding a little bit more, I keep coming back to this word, accessible.
Right, right. Yeah, it's, you know, say everything, you know, like I say, everything that you put out, it's um in its own way has a unique touch to it, and it's just, to me, it's amazing what one musician can do by themselves with one album, with one, excuse me, with one instrument, and and I don't think many do that. I really
I think
don't.
the
I
instrument
mean,
itself lends itself to that, though. It's nice that I have a bass and a guitar on the same neck. I think
yeah,
it's a lot harder if you don't have that, but I think the instrument lends itself to that first of all, but then also I really think that like I mentioned before, because it's somewhat new, there's a lot more experimentation that's almost not accepted but expected, maybe even, because
right.
it really hasn't seen its full development yet. You know, we haven't seen the the true limit of what the instrument's capable of. I believe so. The fact that everybody's kind of still doing their own thing and pushing it further is kind of cool, and I think that that's what I'm trying to do too.
And, you know, I always wondered what would happen if you get two war guitarists in the same band. You know
It's
how
been
that
done
would sound.
before. The Trey Gun Band had two war guitarists. Stick
Oh,
is kind of like that. They're not playing war guitar, but Tony Levin's playing his Chapman stick while Marcus Reuter's playing his touch guitar. So it's out
yeah,
there.
yeah. It's just, I mean, because there's so much, you know, the traditional bass guitar, drums, sounds you can get out of it. You know, there's just so much, you know, and then when you add a keyboard player to it, you know, it gives a little bit more, but still, I mean, kind of limiting. So that's, like I said, with a relatively new instrument, you know, the sky's the limit, basically.
Yeah. Well, that's what happened when I was writing Radiant Dust. So the timeline of this is kind of I was recording Subsequent Ruins. So I'd written the material, I'd sent it off to Marco. He put his drums on it, and then I started doing some overdubs. And while we were finishing up the recording of that, some of these shorter songs that weren't necessarily right for the more prog ones that weren't necessarily right for Subsequent Ruins, I immediately, the minute we were done recording Subsequent Ruins, I moved into recording the Radiant Dusk material. And that became so much fun because one of the things that progressive rock does, at least I do to myself in progressive rock, is I hold myself to certain, not necessarily standards as much as expectations, I would say. You know, I go out of my way sometimes to not write in 4/4. If I use 4/4, it's for effect versus, you know, to rely on it. I go out of my way to sometimes make things more difficult than they almost even need to be. So this was a lot of fun writing the Radiant Dusk album because it was like I allowed myself to do all the things that I don't typically allow when I'm writing the progressive rock for either Aziola Cry or myself. So as we started recording it, one album became two, became three, basically, and that's what you were referring to as you have the other one that I gave you, because what Radiant Dusk was a 10-song solo album then we thought like, oh, some of these sound good with drums. And so that became the second disc, which is going to be digitally, it'll be its own album called Slightly Different Paths. Um, there's one song that's only on that album, and then there's a few songs from the Radiant Dusk album that include drums, because some of that just sounded like it'd be cool to have the drum accompaniment to it.
And that's
That's
with this one.
yeah, that's that second disc in there. And from a packaging standpoint, that's all in one. From a digital standpoint, those will be separated with two separate digital releases, one in October, one in November. But then even that, so I wrote my wife a song. It's the third to last song, I believe, on that album, entitled Seemingly Quixotic. So my wife is from Spain, so I wrote her what was kind of my like nod to Spanish music. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's true Spanish music, but it's me kind of
Right.
dabbling in it. And that became so much fun that I did a second version of Seemingly Quixotic where with some percussion on it, and that became its own little EP called Seemingly Quixotic. And then I added three additional Spanish tinge songs, one of which actually even includes my wife playing. Yeah, she plays castanets on it, and we put Spanish percussion and stuff on it. And so that one will probably come out, I don't know, November or December or so. So it seems like a lot, but they're all really related to one album. It's just that I decided to package them all a little separately because to me, the Spanish music felt different than the main acoustic album. It felt different from the adding drums to the acoustic music album. So it became three different little projects, but it's all stemming from the one main album. It was
That's
a little
cool.
fun to do though. I kept writing more and more, and it just kept we kept recording more and more. It became a fun process going into the studio constantly to come up with all this new material.
That's cool. When it's, how do you say, when it's flowing, let it flow,
Yeah.
you know, um, and I'm sure just like other musicians, you probably have stuff that probably is still kind of sitting on the shelf, so to speak,
Yeah.
so, so who knows, you might have like an album
No,
full of that stuff.
I already have the material for next year. In fact, it just seconds before I got on with you, was listening to the master of what will be my new album for Wayfarer Records. Wayfarer Records is a label that I've been associated with and been working with for a couple of years now, and that's what I've been putting out my more ambient stuff. I have what I believe is my new sound for ambient music. It's a little different than what I've done previously for the label. It's definitely more featuring the war guitar, featuring the playability of it versus a little less just drones and a little less soundscape, and it's a lot more playing. In fact, I'd say it's almost a mixture of Radiant Dusk meets some of the more ambient stuff I did in the past. So that'll be coming out next year. I have I'm super excited about. I did a collaboration with somebody. I don't want to say too much because it's in the process, but that'll come out early next year. It'll be an EP. I'll put it this way, it's my first foray into more classical music, I would say.
Oh, cool.
So performing with a cellist. So that'll be early next year as well. And then, like I said, the big thing for next year is going to be the Aziola Cry album. That's almost done.
Right.
So that'll come out next year as well. Plus, then, like I said, I have another album that I'm working on with that'll have Marco on drums again. That will be my next prog thing. It's just I want to distance that a little bit from the Aziola Cry release, since that those two are the closest thing I think I do that have a similarity, just because I write all the music for Aziola Cry and I write all the music for my own thing.
Right.
I've found a way to make them sound very different, but because they are kind of the same thing, progressive rock with heavy parts and whatever. I'm going to separate those. But otherwise, yeah, I've got already next year kind of laid out for the releases. And so that stuff's already done or in the process of being done. Plus then, like you said, there's a couple other things that are just laying in the can right now, and it's just because what the plan for them is something much bigger than just putting them out.
Right.
So I want to wait until that bigger thing kind of happens for it to allow it to have its little day in the sun, I suppose.
Right. Now, you know, if people don't know that a week from today, you're going to be playing at Prague Stock in New Jersey
Correct. Yeah.
with your band Aziola.
Correct. Yeah. So we played Prague Day last year, and felt like that was a really good, it was a success for us. I feel like it went over, and hanging out with Ann and Tom at Prague Day was nice because we got to know each other. And so this year being invited to Prague Stock is just unbelievable for us. So it's very excited about it. I gotta tell you, I've been practicing nonstop. It's gonna be live streamed. So it's one thing to make a mistake live where nobody will have documentation of it, but this being live streamed, it's really like made me practice a little bit more than before. So every single day I'm running through the set nonstop. So that's basically how I've been doing for the last month or so. And the band has been rehearsing pretty heavily. So we head out next Wednesday. Oh no, next Thursday, and we arrive there so that we'll watch a day's worth of other bands, and then we perform on Saturday, so a week from today. So
yeah. Now, is
yeah,
it just going to be strictly Aziola material, or are you going to?
yeah. For this show, it was definitely booked as Aziola Cry. So I considered making playing one song from the subsequent Ruins album, and I think one of the things that I decided not to is that we have a new album coming out, so it seemed fitting that we debut some of the new material at Prague Stock. So instead of playing one of my songs and kind of inserting it into an Aziola Cry set, I decided that now let's take anything that in my material out and let's put a new song in its place. So we're going to play a few new ones. We're going to play the Ironic Divide album, and we're excited about it. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, it seems right now that the two, three festivals are, Prague Stock, Prague Day, and Rossfest, and they all seem to be, I know, they're nicely evenly spaced apart, so they're not stepping on each other's toes. And I noticed with the latest climate with world travel that a lot of the I think a lot of the bands are going to be from the States, pretty much, and it's tough with I was talking with some friends. It's tough with getting visas for what used to be the amount that you pay for a four-piece band to get in the country. Now it's just for one musician, and it's like it makes it difficult for these festivals that are, especially small ones, to get in bands from other parts of the world, But at the same time, it's kind of nice that you have a festival in the United States that features bands from the United States, because there's so many out there that that will get looked over on some more international festivals, and some even at homegrown festivals that, you know, so it's kind of cool, you know, and I'm kind of glad that they're doing this live stream. So for people's, you know, a lot of people such as like myself that can't afford to travel, you know, that they can sit and watch it on their home screen, you know, whatever, you know, whether
Yeah,
they got a little 10-inch or an 80-inch, you know, whatever.
I'm excited about it too because I've been wanting to put together something. I still plan on doing it for one of my shows or even an Aziola Cry that show here. But I think one of the things that stops me sometimes is that I'm a perfectionist and I want it to be done to a standard that, you know, I don't know if, you know, I'm sure I could find a local person that could do it, but it's definitely not going to be done by just finding some, you know, local schmo or some
Right.
friends to do it. So it's really nice that in this case, this is top notch. This is professional. This is going to be really quality. Stage It is doing it. So,
Yeah.
so it'll be nice. I'm excited about this particular live stream just because I feel like it could be, and it's another reason why we're going to include some of the new material too, because I'm hoping that it'll have a little bit of longevity for us. So maybe we could turn it into something even bigger than just the one-time live stream.
Right.
Because you know, playing some of the older material, but also some of the new stuff, it'll kind of be the nice segue into the new album for us, which, like I said, will come out early next year. So, and I got to tell you, it's the new album. It sounds a little different, and in a good way though. And I'm excited for people to hear it because it still has all the elements of what Aziola Cry is, but then there's a lot of stuff that I think are going to throw people for a little bit of a loop because it's we definitely threw some stuff into it that I think is not what you would expect, and I think that's kind of cool too and intentional.
Well, that, you know, to me, that's what, if you're going to call yourself progressive rock or progressive metal, you have to kind of throw people for a little loop because that's what the whole genre is supposed to, you know, really technically what you're supposed to be doing, you know, not doing the same thing, you know, album after album, you know, because that becomes monotonous. You know, you want something that kind of wakes them up a little bit, you know, gives them a little shake, you know, and say, oh, okay, we're not on cruise control here, you know.
Yeah, I think that's also one of the reasons why I'm able to put out the amount of music I put out is I feel like I'm always working on something that sounds nothing like what I did prior. So as a result of it, it's something is new every single time. So a good example is the Aziola Cry album. We recorded the last one and released it in 2021. In 2022, I made a little bit of an attempt to write what would be the follow-up. And it was really hard for me because all it was coming to me was just more of the same. And I think that as a result of that, I lost a little bit of interest and then took a break from it and approached it with an entirely different mindset. And as a result of that, came up with what I think is our best album, which is this upcoming one, because I think it was like giving a little bit of a rest and really thinking about like what to do that's not just doing what we've already done. And I think that was like by finding that moment, that's what kind of opened the door to what became this next album.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
And you know, with it live streamed, you're gonna get people that ordinarily wouldn't have known who you are. And you know, like you were saying, the opposite thing is, you know, it's going to be live, and people are going to be able to see it on their computers or tablets or whatnot. That is going to be out there. So it's like you're gonna be out there in a good way because, you know, you're going to reach people that normally wouldn't have
Plus, for us, I think what's nice about it is that it, while I would love to bring Aziola Cry to Europe, it's not going to happen anytime super soon. And as a result of that, what it does is it opens up the door to the people that listen to us there to see us. And I like that idea as well, because I've been asked quite often, like, for us to do live streams here, just so that, you know, some of the European people, fans can watch. And so it's nice that this is just that opportunity. Um,
Yeah.
I'd love to. It's just, I think that's one of the reasons too, just kind of coming back to the solo thing, why that even started in the first place was, sometimes the band is it's a production, you know, like when you bring a lot of people, and Tom does not play a small kit by any means. I mean, it fills up the entire van just with the drum kit. It's like it just becomes a bigger thing. And so that was one of the reasons why I wanted to just strip everything down and allow myself to tour, which I did a little bit of regional touring this past year, and I want to do have something in the works for next year. And that is just it allows me to just, you know, quick, easy, not much gear, get out on the road and be playing material. And you know, I throw an occasional Aziola Cry or more progressive rock song from my set into those things, but it's just, it's nice that it doesn't have to be that big production that is the band. Yeah.
Right. I mean, you got to give yourself a break. Either way.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but yeah, I'm loving it right now. So like, I don't see taking a break anytime soon, as like
Oh yeah.
that type of break. But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are going to be in for a treat if they, people that heard your music and always wanted to see you in a live setting, you know, they'll be able to see it. And then if it's, you know, like I said, if it's a hit, then, you know, you could maybe possibly more live streaming, you know, which I really think that's really kind of part of the future of live performances. I mean, there's no substitute for being in front of a live audience, but to reach more people all over the world, you know, that just like makes it all, to me, it makes it a better thing, because now someone halfway across the world that's bought your music and knows that they either can't come to America to see you play, or you can't travel to go places to play, they could be able to just, you know, purchase their online ticket and, you know, they get to see you.
Yeah. No, I definitely get the benefit of it. There's something for people who are, you know, the travel reasons, totally get it. And I think that's where I'm completely sympathetic to it and want to do more of it for exactly those people.
Right.
There is still something to be said for, I love, you know, talking to people after the show. I love,
Oh yeah.
there's something about that that I think that is missing, obviously, from that. So I don't know. I hope it doesn't entirely replace it, as much as just
I
it's
don't.
kind of happening as a way to expand your audience throughout the world, which is really what it's doing, I think.
Yeah, yeah. That's, you know, I think as long as there's live music, it's always going to be, you know, you're going to have that live audience, you know, and so I don't think, at least in our lifetime, I don't think it's going to replace it. You know, I can't say for what's going to happen in 100 years, you know, but hopefully they'll still like putting on live shows, you know,
Yeah,
people in front of them.
I hope so, because I still enjoy going to shows. In fact, I was at a show last night. A friend of mine's band played, and so went and saw a band play. It's yeah,
Well, you're in an area that I have a friend of mine that lives lives in Chicago, and he talks about all these different shows that are, anywhere from like melodic stuff to, you know, jazz fusion, you know, playing, and it's like I'm like going, if it wasn't for all the people in a big city, I think I wouldn't mind moving back to a big city. But that's just the thing, is just the people. Just too many people. I lived in Los Angeles for 42 years, and that was towards
Got its
the
ups and
latter
downs.
part. Yeah, it does. I mean, you got the opportunity for more things to do, but it's like you sacrifice. What do you want? And I got to the point in my life where I needed some peace and quiet.
Yeah.
You know, uh, but I would love it if you know. But that's not saying that I wouldn't enjoy if some some good music came up my way. I mean, I just haven't seen anything that really, and it doesn't have to be progressive rock. I haven't seen anything that's um, come up that has any slight interest. I mean, we either get country acts, hip hop groups, or extreme metal. I mean, an odd combination. I mean, it's like nothing, or what you call the legacy bands.
Mm.
That are performing their hits that they made 30, 40, 50 years ago. you know, and
Yeah.
but who knows? Maybe one day someone will start up something up here and draw in
All you need is
audiences.
one person to start it, and then people follow. So
Oh yeah,
bound to happen.
I mean, there's quite a few venues up here that I think can work. I mean, we've got an outdoor one, we've got a couple indoor ones. College, there's a college that has a place. There's a theater downtown. It's like, but the only way you'd have to get people to come in to a small town, because there's, other than that, there's really, I mean, we got a casino. It's like, there's not that much really to Bangor.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I was just thinking as we were talking about that, of all the people I play with, I'm the only person that lives in the city of Chicago. All the recording I do is in the city of Chicago. I live in the city of Chicago, but everybody else lives out in the suburbs. So I don't know. I personally enjoy it, so it's not
Yeah.
something I plan to leave. But yeah, most of the people. In fact, it's quite a pain. Aziola cry practices, it takes me about an hour and a half to get out to where we rehearse. So it is what it is. And we call ourselves Chicago because I'm from Chicago and I live in Chicago, but the other two aren't really even from Chicago. So
Right. Yeah. It's just like in Los Angeles. I mean, you got all the suburbs. So many of them. I could, but yeah, it's cool that you're in an area where even with your solo stuff that you can easily, there's so many venues in your area that you can play, and there was another one in your area that I don't know exactly if it's in Chicago proper or in the suburbs, but there's a guy that I have regularly on my other shows that he does concerts. He has a very large basement, and he has set up where he can record. Mark,
yeah. He lives right down the street from me.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, literally about a half a mile that way.
Yeah. Have you played at his?
No, I've never played it, but I've been to some of his shows. yeah, he holds little house concerts, and it's a great little setup he's got there. He also has his radio program, and I've been on his radio program 2 or 3 times on Sunday nights. So yeah, he does his own shows there. He's really
I think
into,
that's kind of cool.
yeah. Um, there he put together, the last time I was there, he put together a group because Unitopia is on his label.
Oh yes.
So some members of that, member Matthew from Discipline. Who else was there? Well, there was Don Schiff was there. And I went to go see and talk to him because he plays Chapman stick or a tennis stick. So yeah. It's cool what he does there. It's so perfect for me because like I can leave the show and be home in 3 minutes. So
that's the plus right there. I mean, who can say? Not many people can say that.
yeah, yeah. No, we talk all the time. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, I wish there was more people that did stuff like that. Because as you go west, there used to be festivals, but I haven't heard of anything in the past almost 15 years of happening.
Yeah, some of the older ones that used to exist are gone now too.
Yeah, Prague Fest, Baja Prague,
Cal Prague.
Cal Prague.
Yeah.
God, so many of them just gone. And Los Angeles is a perfect place. I mean, there's so much stuff. I always said, you go to Los Angeles, bring your family, because people are going, oh, well, no, my wife and kids don't want to go. Well, you go to the Prague thing, send your family to Disneyland.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like, it's perfect. I mean, everybody wins that way.
Perfect.
So everybody out there got this one. I recommend this one a lot. This is
that one.
My favorite so far of yours.
Oh, nice.
Solo stuff.
Yeah. That one came out on 7D Media. That's Trey Gunn's record label. So go to 7dmedia.com to buy that one. Yeah, I mean, there's links off of my page as well, but
yeah,
they're the ones selling that one. Yeah, I'm proud of that album.
And then this one here.
Backward Sky Falling. That's a project with Joe Kopecki from back in the day. His band was Kopecki.
Yes, I remember them.
And then Craig Walkner, who plays with Far Corner. They were signed to Cuneiform Records, I believe.
I remember that.
Yeah, so that's the three of us on that. That's it's lengthy amount of music for an EP, but it's 4 songs, all pretty long.
Yeah,
so that's cool. And that to me, that's me being the role of bass player.
Right. And it has like when I looked at that cover, I hope you're a fan of them. It just kind of reminded me a little bit of a Mastodon type cover.
Yeah. So, in terms of artwork, I'm always very involved in everything that band and that cover art and the recording and all that kind of stuff. That was very much done more from the Joe Kopecki's side of things. So I could see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, that I think it's cool because it's so me. I mean, all my other stuff doesn't look anything like that. So that's what I liked about it, is that it was like, all right, this is cool. This is definitely not something that it kind of goes into the look and feel of my stuff. So yeah.
And then you got
that's
if you get it, if you buy it on CD, you get the dub
Yeah.
thing, but digital is separate.
Yeah, so both discs. I think we're gonna release the album. So at shows, so I'll have that at Prague Stock to buy. At the record release for that is actually October 20th here in Chicago. I'm playing a show and releasing that album. Digitally, it's going to be separated, but I don't know when exactly. I either with the first release or maybe the second one is the CD will come out, and then it's attached from
Yeah,
the
and
physical.
then
Yeah,
and
and then
then
that
this,
one will come out soon thereafter. I'm trying to decide really what date to put that out. It's a gift to my wife, so I might just put it out on her birthday.
hey, that you know, that's that. I'd say right there that would be like the perfect birthday present.
Yeah. Her family so kind. They like my music or like social media posts, and they listen to my stuff, but I know it has nothing, it's not their taste at all. So this was a little
Right.
bit of my attempt to just say, like, here's something that you might actually like by me.
Other, like I said, perfect birthday gift. Because it's an everlasting one.
Yeah, exactly. And I should also say too, all the song titles on there are derived from where she's from. So while they might mean nothing to anybody, they're very much references to her hometown. So
Cool. That's. I mean, you can't get any better than that. I mean, that's very cool. And like I said, that's going to be an everlasting gift. For years and years and years. I always pick that up, and who knows, maybe you can make that your part of your our birthday music.
there you go.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again, for coming on. And, we always talk about something a little different, which is really cool, just like your music. You always have something, amazing to talk about.
Yeah,
I
always
mean,
something new going on too, it seems like. So it's nice.
yeah. Yeah, so it's one thing. It's like if someone came on and repeatedly, and then they didn't have anything new to say. But it's like with you, you always have something new.
Thanks. I really
And
appreciate you always having me too.
yeah, and good luck next weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe I could put some links to the stage at what do you call it? The live stream too. So anybody that would like to
Okay.
check us out live stream from Progstock, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll put all the links down below so people can check it out that way. So
sounds good.
they don't have to go hunting for it.
Perfect.
All right. Well,
Well,
thanks again, Jason. I
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Great talking to you again, Ron.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.